It's that time again where we get to dive into the absolute craziness and debauchery that is going on in the world today, and how Charlie Kirk asked these OF models a simple question and they cannot seem to answer it. As I usually say, I am not going to talk anymore, so let us get into the video.
I'm curious, who here considers themselves a feminist? Maybe just show of hands. Are you a feminist?
I don't.
That's it? Just Aaron and Pixie? Molly?
Yeah, Molly.
A little bit? Okay. All right. So Charlie, we've got some feminists here. What do you think of feminism?
I want them to define the term first, because there's no use in me giving thoughts on an abstract concept. So, I'm all ears.
What's your sense? How do you define feminism?
Feminism is just simply the advocacy of equality, both social, political, economic, on the basis of all genders everywhere. So
the answer she just gave is absolute nonsense. This is what I would define feminism to be. Feminism is a movement that complains about all the benefits and the high paid jobs that men get, but at the same time they do not complain about the hard labor jobs that men have to engage in, such as truck driving, such as manual labor, such as working in sewage, such as working in oil rigs. Feminism is a movement to complain about the top 20 to 10% of men, while they do not acknowledge all the men who have built society to the way it is today. That's what feminism is.
that's what feminism is to me.
Do you concur?
I concur.
Do you concur?
Concurred.
Okay.
So you want me to give a thought on that?
Do you agree with their definition of feminism?
That would probably be the most agreed upon definition. So I do believe in equality under the law, obviously. I believe in equality for representation or enfranchisement to be able to vote, obviously. But you said economic equality. That's interesting. Do you think that female models and male models should be paid the same by law?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we should make female actresses and models be paid less because they earn about 20 times more than men.
I think when you get
women would get a pay cut. You're okay with that?
I think when it comes to creative fields like that, it's going to be very difficult to look at it on the basis of like sex or gender, how you would pay somebody, because that's going to have so many more factors than simply that. But if we're talking about equal economic opportunities, like for example, should like a man and woman doing the exact same position at a corporate office be paid the same if they're doing the same amount of work? Then
well, it
yes.
Depends.
This is the problem with these people, and equality, and everyone should be equal in their la land nonsense. Humans are not and will never be equal. So this whole idea of if they're working in an office and they're working the same job, they should be paid the same doesn't make any sense, because whether it's a man or a woman, one of them is going to be doing more hard work than the other. So do we still pay them equal based on that? You can never get to this fantasy land that these woke people try to push. It's not possible to have equality, especially when you have people who are different biologically. It's an impossibility, and it's just pure stupidity to even advocate for such a thing.
Depends on what they study, depends how long they've been there, it depends if they're equally as good at the job, it depends
but
how...
all else being equal, I'm saying if all of those things are equal, can we at least agree they should be paid the same?
That's already the law.
It's
so you're
not possible
allowed
to have that anyway.
Based on gender or sex, based on a law passed in the 1970s.
Right, yeah.
However, what is now being tried to be passed through other movements is to try to swoop in and say, regardless of qualifications, how often you ask for a raise. So I'll ask a question. Why do you think, for example, the average male, it looks as if they earn more than an average woman in a city? Is it because of sexism or other factors?
I think sometimes implicit bias can be one factor among many, but like all the things that you mentioned earlier, different qualifications, different business acumen, skills, work output, numbers of hours work could all be things that impact pay.
Right. So
and like studies that like focus on the gaps between men and women like do make note of these differences.
Okay, SkizTech, thank you for the gift of 100 subs. Charlie, do you have a response?
No, I hear that. I do want to actually get back to even more of a fundamental question, and I'm sorry I didn't ask this.
Sure.
What is a woman?
Oh.
A a woman is somebody who presents as our social conception of womanhood.
So
that
you
acts in such a way.
So Pixie, just can you answer that question without using the word woman or womanhood?
You have got to be kidding. These people surprise me all the time, but then at the same time, they don't surprise me as well with the stupidity that they come up with. That's like me saying a 12-year-old is someone who engages in the behaviors that a 12-year-old engages in and looks similar to a 12-year-old. So I can also say that a 15-year-old can identify as a 12-year-old. So as long as socially to everyone else he looks 12 or she looks 12 and also acts the way a 12-year-old looks, do you see how stupid that sounds?
It's because basically it would be a functional definition. So as a society, we have an understanding of what woman is.
What
It's
is
a
that?
man.
Yeah, that's basically.
I am a man.
Well done.
X,
Can you
Y,
elaborate?
XY chromosomes.
Okay, but the problem with that is that I didn't check your chromosomes before coming in here and calling you a man, and you didn't check my chromosomes before coming in here. And
Or genitals.
Or genitals, calling me a woman.
So let me just play this out. So first of all, you can't give me a definition without using the word woman.
Before we get back into the video, I need everyone to turn on their post notifications so that you get notified whenever one of my videos come out. Like the video as much as possible, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter at YinkaThatGuy. Let us get back into the video.
That's a functional definition. Yeah, sure. Do you know what functional definitions
yeah,
are?
I'm very well aware, and you should have a functional definition for the most important question in civilization,
No.
right?
Well, the
Don't
point
know
of a
if it's
functional definition, functional definitions are a definition that is by the function of something. So, like for example,
No, there's an objective
1 equals
definition.
1 is one is a function of 1. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. So then, can you give me an objective, a functional, utilitarian, any sort of biological definition of what a woman is? Because
The problem
how
is-
can we debate feminism if we can't agree what a woman is?
I would even I feel like Pixie's definition absolutely satisfies the definition of what constitutes womanhood, but I would define it only slightly differently, which is that it's a person who performs a set of social roles that are typically associated with feminine characteristics, but not necessarily, because there are even cis women who fall outside of this, and we still consider them women nonetheless. Like butch lesbians, for example, are women that exhibit very masculine characteristics, but nonetheless society understands them to be women. So
She just defeated her whole argument with the fact that she mentioned butch lesbians who can look similar to men as well. So in society, function-wise, they would perform as men and look similar to men, but they're not men, and that was their whole definition. Functionality, which just goes to show you how stupid their position is. I can also take their side and apply it to a different thing. Just as I previously said, let's say for instance, an 18-year-old actually looks 15 and says to the world that he's actually 15, and people believe that this 18-year-old is actually 15 because he looks 15. Based on their logic, this 18-year-old should be able to be a 15-year-old and should be able to engage in behaviors and things with another 15-year-old, and it shouldn't be against the law because he identifies as a 15-year-old.
I find cis to be a very offensive word, by the way. I don't know how you feel about the cis.
I don't
cis men, cis women. I think
too
it's hate
deeply about
speech,
that.
to be honest.
I didn't mean to trigger you, Brian.
As-
I would have
as
given
a
you a trigger warning before if I had
So
known.
do you think anyone can become a woman?
Yep, but not anyone will.
Okay, so then at what point do they become a woman?
It will depend on where they are in their gender transition for the most part.
Does it require drugs to become a woman?
No.
Personally, I think it's a mindset. It's a spiritual energy. It's the vibe that you give off. You know, like
The vibe. Before we continue on, I want to just give everyone an opportunity to answer No, totally fine. To answer Charlie's question, I know you two had already answered. What is a woman? Starting with you, we'll go around the table. Go ahead.
Can you skip me?
We'll come back to her.
I'm a woman.
That's the best answer. That's the one that Ketanji Brown Jackson should have given in front of the Senate.
So come back to you? Or?
Yeah, come back to me. Come back to me. Let me
Sure,
brainstorm
okay,
on
go
that.
ahead.
Same. I'm a woman.
What is a woman?
Like, I don't.
What about you? Can I have you tilt your mic down just
Yeah,
a
of
tad?
course.
Perfect, go ahead.
Right there.
Yeah.
I'm a woman, but I also do think that a woman is someone who identifies as a woman, and that's that.
These people.
I mean, theoretically, it's someone who's born with a womb, but this generation obviously has proven that men can turn into women. So I'm not discluding that. I still think that they should be perceived
Excluding.
as what they're portraying themselves as. But technically, I still think trans girls, they are a version of a man, but they can still be classed as a woman, which is a bit tricky, but yeah.
Molly?
I'll say the same answer. I think what constitutes as a woman is the energy that you give off and that you want to put out into the world.
The energy.
So if being a woman or a female is a mindset, can your age also be a mindset? Can you choose to be, can you say I feel 14, which is a classifiable mental condition, by the way,
So I will say, yes, I know people that act way younger than they actually are, and they love acting way younger than they actually are. And I know people that, you know, like act way older than they are, and they, you know, and they pride themselves in that. And I think.
Okay, fair enough. So if a 35-year-old man claims he's 14, should we have any problem if he wants to have sex with another 14-year-old?
No. I'm not saying that you should.
Probably should have a problem, I think.
No. I'm not saying that they should be able to have sex, but they can state, I feel 14.
Right.
And if they can state that they feel 14, you should say, yeah, just the way you do a gender, you should affirm their age and say, yeah, what's the issue? These people are so inconsistent that they flip and flop where they want to flip and flop. And with this mindset, unfortunately, if it continues to be pushed into the world, in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, people will start accepting that, yeah, this person feels like a 14-year-old. Even though they're 35, they should be able to identify as a 14-year-old. That's where we're going.
But if your identity is an energy or a feeling that can change, why would it be wrong for a 35-year-old to say he's 14? Therefore,
because he's not.
But then how is someone who has male parts a woman if he's not a woman?
That's two different things.
Why?
It's a mindset, isn't it? Time.
Your age isn't a mindset.
Yeah.
I mean,
but then why is your sex or your gender a mindset and your age isn't?
I don't know which one is which. One of you could probably say, but sex and gender.
Do you agree?
Is
At least acknowledge that sex and gender are two separate things.
So
that's what I was going to say.
There are 0 genders, 2 sexes, and infinite personalities.
Well,
okay.
Gender doesn't exist.
What do you mean?
Okay.
Sex does. So the parts you're born with is who you are.
How does gender not exist?
It's a 1960s clinical term, largely made out of the Academy of John Money and Alfred Kinsey and many postmodern child psychiatrists, many of whom, by the way, were not really great people, but we don't have to go into that. But gender is a new term of the last 50 or 60 years. So,
yeah, but it still exists.
But personalities exist. We can agree with that. Proclivities or interests or likes exist.
So by that definition, then if you're a woman or a man, is your energy. It is your personality.
These young people have become so brainwashed. It's unbelievable that they say the most asinine things ever. Your gender is your vibe and your personality and the woo-woo ghosts in the air and all of this nonsense. And they don't even know what they're talking about. But because social media and their friends have gathered together to say something is something, they just continue to follow it. And they don't even have a clue of what it is that they're talking about.
Well, yeah, the goal, or what used to be the case, is the vast majority, 99.9% of all people, their biology and their reality, or how they viewed their reality, I should say, were in alignment. And now that's not so much the case.
And what Charlie Kirk said was absolutely true. These people just talk absolute nonsense. And they change definitions to suit their agenda is all it really is. But anyway, that was another video, another reaction. As I usually say, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video as much as possible, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter at YinkaThatGuy, and I am out.